Hey, welcome to another episode. I'm Brian Roisentul, your host, and today I'm excited to interview Tommy McCole. He's a co-founder of Major League Socks. As soon as they launched their socks, they were picked up by news outlets across Canada and the US. Most importantly, fans all over the world started wearing them with pride. Hey, Tommy, thanks for being on the show.
Oh, I'm happy to be here.
Yeah. So why don't you start by introducing yourself to the audience and telling them more about Major League Socks too.
Sure. My name is Tommy McCole. I co-founded a company called Major League Socks, and I am based out of Toronto, Canada. We
Nice.
are a licensed sock company. We work with major league entities such as the NHLPA. We've worked with the MLBPA, Liverpool Football Club, NHL alumni, and we've got a couple more exciting ones to come in the future.
Amazing. So before, talking about your company, I would love your take on the current scenario, what's going on in the DTC space. We are, almost in Q4, and I'm curious about your thoughts.
Yeah, so do you mean as it relates to my business or just like an objective point of view?
It could be first the latter, your objective point of view about what's going on, the context in the e-commerce space, and then of course we can discuss about your company too.
Yeah, well, I would like to think that a ton of brands are moving online. So there's a lot more people competing for advertising space for e-com. So it just forces people to come up with good content and have a savvy system in place.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that based on the conversations we have had here on the show, and for the loyal listeners that we have or watchers, if you're watching on YouTube as well, um, we get more or less the same answers. No, costs are going up, and Facebook in the latest report, I think it was Q2 report, reported that costs went up, and that profitability is key, for most brands because I don't know if many of them neglected profitability, but they were mostly or mainly focused on top line revenue because of the, let's say golden era or the good old days back in 2020, 2021. And then as as the years went by, 2022, 2023, and even more these days, 2024, it's definitely tougher. And the bottom line is way more important than it was before.
Yeah.
So, in terms of growing the business, what are your growth levers?
Um, so Major League Sox, we are a company of two. So it's just myself and my co-founder, Jake. Um, so, you know, having limited resources, limited financing, I think our target has always been kind of quality over quantity. Quantity in uh, inventory, quantity in paid advertising budgets. So we've just focused on product development first and foremost, putting the best possible product out there and telling a good story. So, I've been in this business for 9 going on 10 years now. And what I've found over the years is that I feel like the learning from a co-founder's perspective has been maybe slower than I would have liked. Um, because sometimes when you're in the thick of it, it's hard to think outside the box. But in the last 12 months, I feel like I've taken a step back and really looked at the business from an objective point of view and really honed in on what we're really good at. And, our business is largely connected in the hockey community. So, how can we engage with the hockey community um, in a more focused and fun way? Because our business is kind of like fun, it's a little silly. And how can we continue to deliver that to fans of the brand and fans of the hockey community that don't know us you know.
What are you thinking, for what are you doing about that?
So this is kind of a good example of like a quality versus quantity uh, you know event that happened in our business. So we had an order come in. He's a big personality on TV. He's on the Hockey Night in Canada. Hockey Night in Canada is like uh, the place where everybody in Canada watches hockey. And one of the panel members, his name came in on an order. And I was like, what? It's like, that's unbelievable. And at first I thought it was just like a customer pretending to be somebody else. But we took that as an opportunity to really engage with a really powerful member in the hockey community. So, he placed a pretty sizable order, which we were happy to begin with. But, we took the time to think about how we can provide like a special experience for him. So, you know, um, put together a tailored package of socks that would have been relevant to him and teams that he played for. And then we wrote a little letter in the order. And what I have learned over the years is when you can provide a customer experience above and beyond, um, it just goes such a long way. And, you know, this even goes back to when we first started the business. This is like, my first venture in business, and for me and my business partner. And we just started writing notes in every order. And what we found was that people weren't posting photos of the product alone. They were posting photos of the product and the handwritten letter. So it's just like, what are the small things that you can do, that quality experience that you can provide, that is easily manageable, and goes a long way. So when a customer receives your product, they tell your brand story, and they tell others about the experience they've had. So that's definitely like a valuable lesson that we've learned.
Yes, I love that because,
And I'm sorry, I should add,
no,
he's
it's
been
okay.
wearing it. So on the panel, there's four guys on the panel. He's front left when he's sitting down. So he's on a high top chair. His pants are hiked up. And every night he wears the socks in front of God knows how many, like millions of people every single night watching the show that is the most coveted for Canadian hockey fans. So there was a moment there that we could have missed entirely. But, when you really focus in on the quality aspects of your business and quality aspects of customer service, that was an opportunity that we did not miss.
So I love the example because back in early August, I gave a master class to a beautiful e-commerce community, and I'm soon opening it to the DDC Insider community as well, because it was about, these podcasts started in 2021, and I had the pleasure of interviewing hundreds of brands, not to mention the brands we work with on the agency, but the conversations that we have here, to me, are priceless. I learned a lot. And I put together like the top 10 things these brands do to, stay on the top, and still succeed in such a challenging content for many other brands. And one of the things is wow customer service. And it was a mix of, inspiration sources, if you want. One, I had the pleasure of interviewing a 10-year, like a former 10-year Disney executive, and he basically was in charge of Disneyfying customer experience. And he's now a consultant on that. So, like Disney, we are talking about like the experience of like, going to Disney and everything. Like you can go to the, how do you call that, the cruise, the boat, or you can go to the parks. You can go, and the Disney experience is like nothing else I have seen in my life. And
Yeah.
as a break note, I have, discussed this at length with many brands, beautiful brands, man-made, Battle Box, Pura Vida, Patagonia, and many others. And what I can tell is that one of the things they do is what you just said, handwritten notes. Some, do it like they they do real handwritten notes, and the other ones they do, it's like MailChimp or Klaviyo, but for handwritten notes in which they are written by robots, but they look like handwritten as well.
Oh,
Yeah, they have different typographies or different services, but regardless, it's it's a little extra touch for the customer. And some other brands going beyond, they write a different note to each order, not for each customer, but for the first, second, and third order.
yeah,
They do the thank you or thank you for coming back. I'm just
yeah,
making it up, right? But you get the so, and some others they go even further. It's like they call the customers,
yeah,
uh, they record themselves, for ads, calling them, like calling customers, holding the phone like this. So it's not a video call or whatever. It's not a FaceTime or anything like that. It's calling the customer on speaker with their permission, of course. And they have a lot of like fun or funny conversations, and they use those conversations for ads. And I can keep going. Yeah, I can keep going forever. Some they have like a budget for the customer service or the customer experience department. They must spend every single month just for gifting or for solving issues, no questions asked. So it's like if you want to go above and beyond, I don't think it's expensive.
yeah. It
I think
doesn't have
it's
to be
about
expensive.
caring. I think it's more about caring.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I totally agree. It goes so much farther than you would ever imagine.
Yeah. And when people ask, how do brands scale these days? How do they scale the revenue? It's like not everything is related to customer acquisition efforts, like directly. Customer experience is one way of
Yeah,
scaling. Product release, we're having a great product in the first place. So there are many ways to scale without scaling. Of course, we have many others that involve, some other strategies. But in this case, this is a way of scaling up because guess what? You sent these beautiful notes and you said it yourself. They are not only grateful, they post it
yeah,
online. The
yeah,
note. I'm sure they tell their relatives, their friends, everyone,
yeah,
because it's a different experience.
yeah. Yeah, and it went, I keep coming back to quality and quantity, but not everybody has the financial resources to scale like the more traditional route. So you have to be clever, caring and clever.
Yeah. I think Alex Hermosi said this once, or actually many times. It's, if you only had a one customer, how could you serve them? What would you do for them that you can't do at scale?
Yeah,
So to stretch the mind and to see what you can do for your customers, right? So it's a good exercise. So in this case, you also mentioned storytelling. How how does it take place in practice? For those listening, we have in the audience fellow brand founders, CMOs, we have agency owners, marketers. So if any of them are, is wondering how can I actually, implement storytelling for my brand? Because your product is beautiful, but it sucks, right?
yeah,
And you
yeah,
have managed to create a unique personality, to create storytelling around it, and of course finding a niche and all of those ingredients. And of course, you feel free to mention any
yeah,
others that make the brand a success.
yeah. So I'll tell you our brand story, and I'll tell you how we've implemented storytelling into our brand. It's a really fun story to tell. But so 10 years ago, my business partner and I, he was actually like best friends with my older brother growing up, and eventually I got older and I got introduced to the big boy group. So I became really good friends with Jake. We have a lot in common. We both love hockey. We both love soccer, or football, depending on the audience. And he and I were on the same men's league hockey team. And at the time, Mike Babcock was the coach of Team Canada, took them to Olympic gold medals, won a Stanley Cup, was a, you know, kind of like the Alex Ferguson of football at the time. So when he signed as a coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs, there was a lot on his back, and people saw him as kind of this new era of hope because Toronto had been poor for so long. So his name is Mike Babcock, and my business partner just cracked a joke. He's like, "Wouldn't it be funny if we put Babcock on a pair of socks and called them Bab socks?" And I just thought it was such a funny idea that is how we started our business. And it became a viral hit because it was funny. It was like, it was lightning in a bottle. And it was an easy story to tell. So not only was it a funny story to tell, it was an easy story to tell. So we had media coverage. Like, this was an absolute dream start for a business. We had like CBS, NBC, Sportsnet, TSN, like all of the biggest sporting media outlets covering the story. And we just ran with one SKU of Mike Babcock for a year. And as that first year was coming to a close, he was appointed the head coach of Team Canada for a World Cup of Hockey event. It was like an NHL sanctioned event. And we thought it would be a really good idea to approach Molson Canadian and Coors Light because they're a massive beer company, but they're, heavily influential in the hockey community. And we suggested they put a pair of Canada themed co-branded socks in their beer cases. And they ended up purchasing 375,000 pairs for the beer cases. Yeah, in our first year. So,
I was happy with 375, but then you added the 1,000.
The roller coaster of events throughout those negotiations was mind blowing. When that 375,000 piece order came in, like I was working with my buddy's dad doing construction, I ran out to the middle of the street to start celebrating, and my business partner's wife happened to be driving by at the same time. So she got out of the car, we started jumping around. Anyways, but so storytelling can be storytelling is so valuable. Simple storytelling is incredibly valuable. And sometimes you can let other people tell your story for you through partnerships. Molson Canadian Coors Light was a perfect example of leveraging a huge network to tell your story for you. And we happened to get paid for it too, which was nice. And then, we had other partners throughout our time. So Mike Babcock he was a big advocate for mental health. So we partnered up with Movember, which is a men's mental health organization. And we teamed up with minor hockey league teams where they were selling like a Movember themed Bab sock. Movember's the mustache. And money went to money from the socks sold went to Movember to help build a youth mental health program that is still educated today in the league. It's the GTHL, which is the biggest minor hockey league in probably in Canada, if not the world. Teams were raising money for themselves. So, we thought that we could become like the Girl Guide cookies of minor hockey. So, that was another opportunity for our brand to be storytelling, and telling a very compelling story too. So, storytelling can come in many forms, and you can tell it yourself, but it's so much better when somebody else can tell your story for you. That's my advice.
I like that last line. It's so much better when someone else can tell your story for you.
Yeah.
How do you make that happen? Because they loved it so much that they want to tell it for you, or you do something else as a company.
Well, I think simple sounds easy. It's a little bit more technical than that, but and simple can be hard, but it has to be simple. because when you're telling too many stories at the same time, how is somebody else going to tell it for you? So keeping your message compelling and short is definitely
Mm.
the way to go.
Yeah, 100%. Wow, that's a hell of a story. And yeah, I was again happy with the 375. But yeah, it was,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
amazing, amazing. It must have been crazy. So now talking about, I love all of that, by the way, and I'm sure the audience does too. Talking about, the other levers to acquire and retain customers. What do you do besides, of course, you've been mentioning, so you mentioned so far brand partnerships,
Yeah.
licensing with this beer company, and I'm sure with some other organizations too. So
Yeah.
what else do you do? Do you do, paid ads, or do you do SEO? What else do you do? Organic, maybe.
We've certainly benefited the most from organic. Um, we our product is super giftable. So Q4 is kind of like we prepare for most of the year just for Q4. Socks are just like an easy holiday gift. And so paid ads in Q4, um, email marketing. We just signed up with an SMS marketing team uh, called Attentive. I don't know if I'm allowed to say other brands, but Attentive is something that we've started to use. So we'll see. I mean, scaling the business has been extremely hard. I'll be honest. Like we came out of the gates so hot that we thought when we had, Bab Socks as a brand, and then we got introduced into the licensing world. So basically, here I've got a product here, but this is our packaging. So Nick Suzuki, captain of the Montreal Canadiens. So we went from a company that was representing one man to a league-wide license, which allowed us to feature NHL alumni on a pair of socks. So I can't even remember the question now. I'm so sorry. I've lost my
That's
train of
good.
thought.
What were you leveraging for growing? You mentioned the paid
Oh,
ads. That's a big
yeah,
lever.
ads, you know, additional products for different markets. So just making sure that products are relevant to the markets that you're advertising in.
And it's
So and the all of the traditional means, like Instagram, Facebook, SEO. We are on Amazon, so we advertise in all of the platforms that we sell.
which one is performing like great for you? What's the number one platform that's the current?
I would say our Shopify website, majorleaguesocks.com.
And
Yeah,
what's the
and then,
main?
Instagram and Facebook.
Yeah, yeah, like that
That's
too.
what I mean. To be completely honest, uh, we haven't done anything on TikTok. So that's definitely an avenue that we'd like to explore.
Not even organic or with paid.
No, no. I mean, there's two of us, right? So like scaling the business has been hard because um, one, we are heavy brick and mortar retail as
Right.
well. So, when there's two of us, it's hard to do everything all at once. So like, when I look at our business, there are three pillars of our business. So you've got the e-com, you've got brick and mortar retail, and then you've got social media. And it's just been really hard for us to have all three of those running and gunning at once. So we've had to pick and choose where we're going to focus our attention. So, we're at a level now where we're ready to hire on the social media side, because our brand is so perfect for ecom. The product is a ton of fun. Um, yeah,
Yeah, I
that's
think
it.
it's you should be on TikTok, man. I mean, I know
I
it's
know.
easy to say, but yeah, it's
I
and
know. I would love to be a part of it, but because I think I've obviously got the best understanding of like the brand voice, and but it takes someone who's really good at it, and it takes a lot of courage to put your face out there. So I haven't quite found that courage to put my face to the brand yet, but hopefully one
Who,
day.
who is doing that on the other channels? Let's say Instagram. Who is putting their
Uh,
face?
we've there's I mean, I have put my face out there a little bit, but the social media sadly has largely been neglected, which, for someone who's looking at our company, who knows anything about ecom, would be shaking their head like mad. But, at the end of the day, there's a lot of hats.
Yeah,
There's a
I
lot of
know.
hats.
You're wearing all of them between the two of you, as you said. So one thing about you said, putting your head and like your face out there. We have discussed this at length with many of the recent guests, and
Yeah,
the ups and downs, pros and cons, and it's mainly ups and not so many downs. Of course, you need to have time. You need to many founders, they just don't want to be in front of a camera, or they don't have the time to do it, or they don't know how to do it, or so.
yeah,
What we another thing that we have discussed at length in this masterclass, again, it's everything is ideas coming from these beautiful brands that we have interviewed, and most of them, what they do, we have brands that it's the founder doing anything, and sometimes it's the whole team, and by the whole team is not the whole marketing team, it's like admin team, the CX team, like everyone is involved, especially in small teams like six, seven,
yeah,
10, right? And then we have on another, on the other front, we have those who just don't want to do it, but they hire a full-time
yeah,
creator. Of course, it's a relationship that evolves over time. It's not that you hire someone as a full-time creator overnight. It evolves. Many brands
yeah,
in this case, I think for you could be amazing in case you haven't done it, at least proactively, your cash paying customers. You like not using is not doesn't sound right, but trying to encourage your cash paying customers to be, since they love so much the brand, to be a part of the brand,
yeah,
So all of those, like founders, the team, the full-time creator and their customers, or a mix of them, why not, is one of the factors that make these brands we discuss, successful, not only successful, but at least successful online, right?
yeah,
It allows them to, let's say, get away with getting an online strategy without, while delegating in case you don't want to do it yourself or can't do yourself.
yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever tried to have your customers as not the face of the brand, but getting out there on ads, organic, etc. Like not only testimonials, but I don't know, whatever
To,
content.
to be honest, we haven't. I think that's a really, really good idea. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Just to to because they're engaging in a product that they already like, and
And
for them to be a part of your journey. I think a lot of our customers have been fans of the brand because they want to be a part of the journey. So yeah, I'm gonna take that advice and I'm gonna run with that one because that's great. That's great advice. Appreciate that.
no, I mean, it was given to me, and now I'm giving it to you and to everyone who's listening. So I'm thinking like, as I think about this, content creation thing, I'm thinking without intention of so many funny situations. Probably they are all bad, but for to me they are funny, like tell me you're funny without saying that you're funny, and you're in the office sitting in a suit, and then how do you, I don't know how to say this in English, but you do like this with your band, you put it up, let's
Yeah.
say they can see your socks, like people, I don't know, I'm just.
Yeah, it's our product is a form of expression.
Exactly. I was thinking about what you were saying with the exact same situation of this person on TV, like without intention, he was sitting in a high, chair or whatever, and
Yeah,
then that happened. Well, doing it intentionally with the hand, like raising like the sleeve, but of the pant. So
yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I think there are endless possibilities with products such as yours. So I want to ask you one more thing. Have you ever thought about selling something else that is not socks?
Yes, we have thought of a million different things for sure. So our strategy right now is to continue to acquire more licenses, as opposed to shifting our product category. So, you know, we just signed a deal with a massive entity. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it. So, I probably won't, but I really want to. But it's coming next year. Um, so, more products for us is not new category of product. It's just how do we service basketball fans the same way that we service hockey fans. But I feel like our company and the artists that we work with, super, super awesome artists, there's a lot of different directions that we can go. So,
I didn't get that right. Are you looking to expanding into other sports, or is not?
yeah, we're looking to expand into more sports as opposed to expanding within the hockey community with a different category of product. So,
And may I ask why, to see if you inspire or give some ideas to those in the same situation, like why would you prefer to grow outside your niche than
uh,
offer more products to your current one?
well, we are a heavy retail-based company. So, if we are servicing their hockey needs, we can easily expand that into basketball, American football, soccer. Um, so that's kind of our strategy to already, like there are retail customers that we have that we're hoping to expand into as opposed to, our e-com customers. And I just haven't figured out what different category of product it would be. So I'm certainly open to it. It would require a different license. So the way that the licensing world works is we have a sock license. So we can't take this artwork and sell it on a t-shirt. That would go against the guidelines of the contract. But it's not to say that we can't. I just haven't quite figured out what type of product it would be. But I would love to be able to react more quickly in generating a product. So, our socks are uh, they're made in Turkey. It's like a very high quality cotton sock. It takes about 3 months to make. So, one of the things that I found is that there are moments that happen in sports, iconic moments that happen that we can't really react to in real time. So if I was to come up with a new product that would kind of be in the same vein as our existing brand, it would probably be something that I can make quickly and respond to quickly. So, there's socks that we've made that kind of mimic iconic moments, but we're reacting to them way later than it happens. So, it
Yeah,
would be really cool. That's like the benefit of having a t-shirt company, right? So you can print t-shirts as many or as little as you want, and you can do it quickly. Um, and you can get that out to the world, and that's how you generate a conversation quickly because you respond to the moments that are important to people.
I was asking because you don't need to sell more products or different product category if you don't want to. Of course, as a company, in fact, uh, here in the pod, we have interviewed an eight-figure brand that only sells belts
Oh,
and buttons,
wow.
but it's like the same
Cool.
belts. And I asked them the same question, and they said, this is simple. We have, like, we know we miss on many opportunities, to cross sell, upsell, blah. But in the end, it's like we we have everything like streamlined so far. So
Yeah.
it's easy for us, as you said,
Yeah.
easy wins many times, right? So
Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
it's easy for them. They know how to handle it, how to forecast inventory, so customers know what to expect. So I can get that many times. It's not about, in this case, I haven't thought about it because, you know, unless you tell me otherwise. I don't know about the overlap across sports. Like, do your customers, like hockey fans, are they into basketball or any others, or it's simply a
Uh,
customer base?
Generally speaking, I think people have their number one sport, and many people have, if soccer is your favorite, maybe soccer is better linked to, I don't know, like I'm a hockey and soccer fan, so maybe I'm a little different, but in North America anyway, I think people are fans of multiple sports. And I don't think that there's an exact equation, like I don't think hockey and basketball are more related than American football and hockey. Maybe they are, and I haven't figured that out yet. But whatever license we acquire next, it certainly would be nice if they were one and two in people's minds.
I know I'm a fan of different sports as well, of multiple sports as well.
Yeah,
So I can see that happening as well. I was, just as because I was curious because I had thought it initially about, growing with product categories and not, uh, growing outside the niche or the sport. So that gave me,
yeah,
something to
yeah.
think.
And for us, socks are still somewhat of a niche category. So you know, the level of uh this is not a word, but the nicheness has a price tag associated with it. So, if I wanted to move into shirts, for example, that licensing would be much more expensive because you're competing with uh, you know, Nike, Adidas, Fanatics, they own those categories. So there's a much bigger barrier to entry into new categories. And like you said, we have streamlined our business in this in the soft business. So um, yeah, I'm always interested, but sometimes it's hard to stay focused on what you're doing when you're excited by so many different ideas.
What's next for Major League Sox?
So we just signed a partnership deal with another company. So they are now going to be largely financing the business, which is very nice. And the business model is going to shift where, we're going to be paid a royalty rate as opposed to us financing the business and just taking all the margins. So this is our opportunity to scale. So they're going to be financing the business, advertising the business, warehousing. Warehousing is nice. Inventory management is difficult. We've been set up in a scrappy little warehouse, and so our process will become more sophisticated. It will allow us, Jake and I, to focus more on the things that we're better at. There's a lot of things that I'm really good at, and there's many things that I'm very bad at. So it'll be nice to kind of specialize my role within the company. Um, and hopefully, we can really invest in continuing to tell our story through our social media channels. So that's what I'm really fired up about.
Amazing. Yeah, that's that sounds really, really exciting. So one of the last questions I have for you, we have, these questions that I started, because it's a, let's say, a selfish question, or it started that way because I wanted to know what else to read outside of everything. Like, I wanted to grow outside my niche, like
Yeah.
not read the same thing all the time. So I started asking these amazing guests, such as yourself, what else I could read. So we started talking, books, and then we started talking about people, the guest admire. In this case, we've been discussing offline. They have something different that we have never had as part of this question, let's say, which is a podcast recommendation. And I love listening to podcasts. So I'm super curious about the one you have to recommend to the audience.
Yeah, so I have been an avid listener of How I Built This. It's by Guy Raz. He's a great interview, and basically they interview founders and they tell their stories about how they built their companies. So you know, uh, whether it happens directly or indirectly, I feel like a lot of the decisions that I've made have been heavily influenced by the learnings from other founders. Especially on like the storytelling side, because you're interviewing companies that are way bigger than mine, but everybody started somewhere. So there's lots of tips and tricks on how to run a lean business, and you're learning from the best of them. So that's definitely my best recommended podcast. There's so many good podcasts out there. There's so many amazing books that I could add to this list, but I just think uh, that's the best one for me. I just love going for a walk in the morning, or if I'm driving, and I just plug into how I built this, and amazing stories, and a really good interviewer too. He's a great interview, so heavily recommended.
Right. Amazing. So where can people go to learn more about you and your company?
So we are Major League Socks. MajorLeagueSocks.com is our website. Major League Socks on Instagram. ML Socks, Major League Socks on Twitter. And hopefully we'll be on TikTok. And you can find me on LinkedIn at Thomas McCole, Thomas, and McCole, McCole. And, if you want to email me, it's Tommy at MajorLeagueSocks.com. And, hopefully I can help if you have any questions. And if you want to follow the brand, you're more than welcome.
That's amazing. So for everyone listening to this or watching, you can go ahead, and as always, you can check the DDCinsider.com, click on the episode, unless of course you are already there, and you can check all the show notes, including everything we discussed, as well as the podcast and the social handles, and of course the website. Tommy, it was amazing having you here on the show. You delivered so much value. Thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Brian. I really enjoyed it.